Hey, what is up, guys? This is Speg, and welcome to a brand new guide in my Halo 2 Anniversary Legendary walkthrough. In this video, I'll be covering the 13th mission in the campaign, Uprising.
That betrayed us, the counselors.
The beginning to this level presents a number of wonderful opportunities to slip behind the brutes and assassinate them.
Let's just throw them over the edge. Where's the fun in that?
A couple of key points to keep in mind while you're doing this is, one, pay attention to the brute's dialogue, and the other, which is probably more important, is to pay attention to the motion tracker. And that'll give you a good idea of where they're going to approach from. So after knocking out those first couple of patrols, what I like to do is wait here for about 20 to 30 seconds, and the next patrol will come in and investigate what's happening. And here they come, right on cue. As you get to the top towards the store, there's just a couple more brutes remaining. Usually you can get the drop on one of them, and then try to stick the other with a grenade, if it happens to be facing you.
By the prophets, what had these brutes done? They had shed our brother's blood, and for that they must die. Sell it. So much for a stealthy advance. Ah, over so soon?
At this time, what I like to do is go around and at least give the elites that have energy swords different weapons.
What's this?
By doing this, I think they have a better chance of surviving in the cavern, which is the next section. Once again, just keep using the active camo and energy sword to get the drop on some of these enemies. As you get up to this corner, just wait a moment for these brutes to show up, and usually you can get the drop on them.
A great claw.
Towards the top near this next door, heading out, there's going to be a few drones that will show up, as well as a couple more brutes. And if you're quick enough clearing out this area, you might be able to save one or two of the grunts running around, which is kind of nice if you're able to do so. Not that I'm expecting them to stay alive throughout the level, but it still feels rewarding to do so. At this point, when the area is all clear, go around and collect the carbines that are in these crates. What I'm going to end up doing is equip all of my elites so far with that weapon. Now, if you're not too focused on saving your allies for this mission, you could probably take the carbine for yourself. But I do believe that if you're playing on Legendary or any of the higher difficulties, the carbine is probably the best weapon to give them, since the brute shot, they're not super accurate with it. While you're picking up the carbines, be really careful not to stand too close to the crate where you end up picking the ammo from the other weapon that's within. If you end up doing so, then you won't be able to equip all of your elites with that weapon.
Okay with me.
As you equipped all your elites with that weapon, if you manage to do so, come back into this crate and pick up a couple of needlers before you head on out. Sometimes one of the drones also has a needler, so you should be able to get full ammo if it's lying around someplace. Head into this room, knock out the brute that you see to your right, and then try to use your brute shot to wipe out some of the jackals.
Please, no hurt. Me like elites. Brutes stinky bad. Me stay here, make sure no brutes come behind mighty Arbiter. Huh?
Heading into this next room, which is quite a large space, you'll have some jackals on this first lower level. You can knock out the canisters to your left, and you should be able to knock or kill two of the jackals, and the other two you might have to clean up yourself if your teammates don't do so for you. As you hop down one level, you'll have a few brutes that spawn directly below you. One of these brutes will have a brute shot, so be really cautious about him. I would advise trying to kill him first before knocking out the rest. Well, I got 2 for 1, I gotta be pretty happy about that. So all I'm trying to do is just check and make sure that there isn't one brute hiding in a corner. It doesn't look like there is in my case though. And then just head on down to the lower level. You'll have a few brutes that'll spawn through this doorway, and you'll want to try to kill them as fast as you possibly can. If you're fast enough in this process, you should be able to save any of your elites that have followed you down. Staying in here, you'll have a turret on station, as well as a couple of brutes and a few jackals down below. Be careful about this part, because once you kill enough enemies, a few more brutes will appear through the opposite doorway and will charge your position. If you have your needlers, you can just pump them full of ammo and easily wipe them out. Once you got the room all clear, just pick up a carbine, and then you can try to locate any grenades that these brutes have dropped. Occasionally, what does happen on this level, if you get to this room, sometimes there's a fuel rod can that spawns in one of these two corners. I'm not sure exactly what causes it, but it's a interesting note to keep in mind with this level. If you manage to find that weapon, then you'll be in really good shape coming up. If not, then just pick up the fuel rod cans you find along the way. Try to stick one of the brutes, and then if you use the fuel rod can, try to target the other. By this point, your allies should catch up to you, and they can do a pretty decent job of cleaning up. Your biggest threat coming into this area will be the jackal sniper that comes around this corner. Try to find its beam rifle if you can, so that will come in handy for the next upcoming fight. So as you come to this corner, hop out of the vehicle really quick, take care of that sniper before you move on in. Now, if you're trying to keep your allies alive, try and knock out those ghosts so that they don't hop in them. Otherwise, what tends to happen is they'll get in the vehicles and they'll usually try to charge the enemy, which often ends up killing them. After you knock out some of the initial enemies, you'll have 4 waves of brutes and jackals that spawn around this corner. The best way to handle it is try to sit right about here and just lay down fire. Be careful not to fire on any of your own allies. That can easily happen, as they often try to get in the way. So I managed to save most of my elites, which is great. Now sometimes what does happen is you'll get a wave of jackals that spawns behind you, but that didn't happen here. If that happens, you'll only have to take out about 4 of those jackals, and you can use the ghost in that instance. Come into this area, knock out some of the jackals that are just on station. You also have this one brute to your right. Eventually the Spectre will show up, and you'll also have one more jackal sniper that appears. Along with that jackal sniper, there is another brute patrol, and this group usually will try to go for the Spectre. But in this case, they were not fast enough to react to that, so I'm pleased with how that turned out. So there's a couple things to keep in mind. If you didn't save your allies, what you can do is bring the ghost with you and you can hop into a fresh one later on. Otherwise, if you manage to save the Spectre and you still have your allies, what you can do is equip one of your elites with a fuel rod, and you'll get 2 elites that'll jump in with you. And that'll happen regardless of how many elites you saved, if it's 3 or 4. If you only manage to save one elite, the one will always get into the gun, even if you give it a heavy weapon. So now I'm gonna have a little bit of fun with this level by having a Spectre with a fuel rod in the passenger seat. As you head down here, make sure to target the snipers at this next encampment. And then if you want, you can either try to snipe the brutes from distance, or you can let your elite take care of them with the fuel rod cannon. The only thing to be careful about is if you jump out of the Spectre, your elites will tend to try to drive away with the vehicle without you. So make sure to jump back into the vehicle after you kill maybe 1 or 2 enemies, just to make sure this does not happen. When you get up to here where the Jackal snipers were, make sure to pick up the best available weapon that they have. And then hop right back into the Spectre. Or scratch that. Before you do that, also try to locate one of the carbines the brute had down here. It's not entirely necessary, but I guess it's not really not a bad thing to be too careful. Making your way down this river, hop out of the Spectre before you get to this corner. You're going to have a couple of Jackal snipers situated up ahead. And this is a really bad spot for them because you do have this little chapter checkpoint that appears that removes your HUD temporarily. So pop into active camo before you get around the corner and then snipe the Jackals to finish them off. Otherwise, you're going to have a pretty hard time with them. Now, this is the last staging area you'll need to clear out to end the mission. And if you have your elites with you on this part, you, instead of having to snipe all these brutes, you can let the elites fire upon them. And they do a really nice job of cleaning up. You'll have another squad that spawns off to the left through the doorway. And with this group, a couple of them will at least have brute shots. So if you have to, just try to fire off a few rounds, then duck back into cover. Again, I'm just making sure none of my elites try to run off with that ghost. Or with the Spectre, I should say. So if you manage to get this far with these elites, destroy the Spectre instead of leaving it intact. With this area, you'll want to be careful with wraiths that are in the area. One of them will usually charge your location once you get down here. And if that happens, instead of trying to destroy it, board the vehicle instead and kill the driver. And then you can turn and use the wraith for your own good. You'll have this one Jackal sniper off in this area if you manage to have that wraith destroyed. And that's really the only problem enemy you'll have initially, besides that wraith.
We destroyed them.
So now what I'm trying to do is trigger this checkpoint, and what that's going to do is spawn some more brutes through this door. Usually you'll have to deal with 3, maybe up to 4 waves of brutes. As soon as the door opens, lay down fire on that door until it closes. Not much to it, but it is somewhat annoying to have to sit here and wait for these brutes to spawn in repeatedly. If you're unsure whether more brutes will spawn, just wait around for about 10, maybe 20 seconds to be absolutely sure none spawn in. And then what I'm going to do is park the Wraith. I'm going to move it forward a little bit. I'm going to park the Wraith right about here. And if you're lucky, if you killed that Jackal Sniper and his weapon fell down to this lower area where you're at, you can pick that up. And otherwise, if you don't find that weapon, there is another cache of beam rifles ahead. So walking along this ledge will trigger a wave of Jackal Snipers to spawn in up ahead. So instead of trying to fight them on foot, I'm just going to use the Wraith to my advantage and try to kill them with the blasts. You won't have to worry about that sniper trying to shoot you out of your vehicle. It almost seems impossible for that to happen.
Well fought. How did you fare? By the reins, the Arbiter. Running low, is it? Very well.
Now what I'm doing here isn't entirely necessary, but if you want to have some fun with your allies, you can of course equip them with better weapons. So run into this hall and trigger this checkpoint, then come back out, and what this will do is trigger these 4 brutes to spawn in across the way. You can use this as an opportunity to snipe them some more, and your allies might even pitch in and do a pretty nice job. Other times they can often run ahead of you.
What vulgar taste. Even as trophies, these weapons are worthless.
So here we have a little bit of an armory to work with in terms of weapons. There's a rocket launcher with a casing of 2 rounds. So for this last stretch, I'm going to use the rockets and a carbine. You want to be really careful as you approach this part because there's 2 more snipers that'll charge right in. So what you want to do is knock out those 2 snipers with 1 round from the rocket launcher. And you can either hijack the ghost or destroy it with the rockets. Either way, you'll be in good shape. So unfortunately, I missed both of my rockets while trying to take out this ghost. My teammates kind of got in the way of this battle. And if that's the case, just try to pull back and you can deal with this group a little bit more safely. Under the ideal circumstances, I definitely would have loved to save all those elites instead of have them die on me like they did. That might have been one of the things I could have perhaps done differently, is equip them with precision weapons instead of explosive weapons. But after you clear out this cave, you'll reach this door and that'll trigger the end of the level.
The rings, Arbiter. The counselors, are they
Murdered by the brutes.
vile, disloyal beasts? The prophets were fools to trust them.
And with that, that will end the mission Uprising for Legendary. It's a pretty fun level, I would admit. Some tough engagements with the brutes, no doubt. It's a very fun one if you try to save your allies, of course. But there's, of course, the likelihood that you'll end up losing them at some point during the battle. But anyhow, in terms of tips, if you're trying not to save your allies, using a ghost will certainly get you a long ways in this mission. Precision weapons will, of course, help you out a lot. But if you're trying to save the elites, of course, using the kneelers and the brute shots along the way will help you go a long ways in terms of killing the jackals, drones, and even some of the brutes in your path. Anyhow, I hope you all enjoyed this video that I put together. Thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate the support, the comments that I've received on the videos that I've done in Halo 2 and other guides I've completed thus far. And I will hope to see you in the next episode. Take care, everyone, and hope you have a good day or night.